Hey, this is Haplin, and welcome to what is sort of a bonus module in this paid ads playbook. Typically, in a sales pipeline, once you know how to generate, nurture, and ultimately convert a lead, that's kind of where the journey ends, right? You made a sale, great, you're done. But with high level, the fun continues. There's even more that you can do after making a sale to continue to get value out of every lead you generate. I'm going to cover two ideas really quick. The first is evangelize, the second is reactivate. Evangelize just means that we're going to turn new sales into reputation. The most straightforward example of this is asking our new sales for a review. There is an entire reputation tab inside of high level that we're not going to cover in detail, but this is more to just inspire you, and I'm going to include a link to help docs below if you desire to learn more about all the reputation related features. But the gist of this is that you can integrate a Google account, have high level generate a really simple link that when tapped basically pulls up just a little box where they leave the stars and the comment, so it makes leaving a review super easy. Then in the quick actions or in contact profiles or in a couple different places, you can send review requests via email and SMS super simply. So we already have SMS and email dialed for our sales follow-up. Now post-sale, we can just simply ask for a review. We could wait for a day or a week if we need more customer experience before they're ready to leave a review, or we can dial it in based on our model and our industry and what we know to be best practices. We can also completely automate review requests, of course, in workflows. There's a workflow action for send review requests, and we can dial that in. So this is just another great way to take things even further. And once you kind of set this up, you don't really have to touch it anymore. But now, instead of just generating leads, or just generating leads with follow-up to appointment, or just generating leads and tracking them all the way to sale, now we're continuing to push the envelope in turning new sales into positive reputation for the business. Super valuable activity for SEO. There are other features related to reputation that we're not going to cover in this video. It's kind of its own whole thing. In fact, we've got an entire separate playbook that's completely dedicated just to reputation management, so plenty of resources to help you succeed with that. But moving right along, the next idea is reactivate. And this is even more powerful than evangelize, in my opinion, because reactivate basically just means we're going to turn sales into repeat buyers. High Level's already done so much of the hard work for us in situating these leads and organizing them in the contact lists. We have compliance taken care of with opt-outs automatically leaving our list, being marked do not disturb. And the ones who remain constitute an audience or a list whose contact information we have and can use in order to continue marketing to them. First of all, in the smart list view, we can create specific lists with filters. So if we wanted to filter to the opportunity status 1, we could do that just so that we're looking at a list of all the contacts who were marked as 1 in the past. So we've got the opportunity outcomes there. We could target a specific stage of the pipeline, folks who didn't make it to the appointment book stage, people who are new leads but they never booked. You can be as creative as you want when creating specific lists, or you could just market to the entire list. But once you have your list dialed, you can then send out promotions in bulk. So this applies to people who bought already and people who fell off the wagon or didn't make it through the sales process before they kind of ghosted or went cold. You can reactivate everyone together super simply. We just check all the boxes, and then we've got a list of bulk actions. One is bulk SMS, and we have bulk email as well. If we want to get even fancier, maybe include both SMS and email as well as a few other things, we can do bulk add to a workflow. So if we have a workflow set up that is a reactivation, we can make that as complicated as we want. You're already a master of workflows. And then in Smart List, we can bulk add people to the workflow itself. We recommend typically reactivating your list at least once every quarter. Make sure they don't forget who you are. Make sure you stay top of mind. So buyers who are very slow moving down the process, or if somebody got hung up at the process or they just got cold feet or whatever, you're going to continue to stay top of mind, and eventually they're going to want to buy something, and when they do, they're probably going to go to the person who's been continuing to keep in touch with them. And even though you're communicating in bulk, this is still an individual SMS you're sending to that individual contact. So you can blast out a few hundred or even 1,000 individual conversational messages, and then again, take the reactive position and just deal with all the responses. It's really easy to do at scale, and you also don't have to commit to such a strict cadence. Typically, you can achieve long-term follow-up if you put them into a drip, or if you just built a workflow out that was going to wait a month and then another month and then etc. That could also work too, but it's so easy to do in high level reactivate kind of at any point that doing it this way puts you in the driver's seat, gives you a lot of flexibility, allows you to promote very specific seasonal offers and or just promote at the right time for your business. And again, we get the massive conversational advantage in the way high level's set up. If we send out 1,000-person blast, it's not like the old way where you have a keyword or you just have a link and you're just hoping for these actions or whatever. You can actually start conversations and conduct them at scale. Now, you will get some opt-outs and some disgruntled people. That always happens with list management, but this is actually the most respectful and most helpful way to conduct this type of activity, because you're still instigating one-on-one conversations. You're getting all the benefits of individual conversations, and the person knows at this point, if they've had any conversation in the past, they know they're receiving that message from a real person who's going to be there to respond to them. If once they respond to that message, they know they're not talking to a bot, etc. And this type of strategy tends to get a pretty high response rate. In my experience with appointment-driven sales processes, if I am pushing out an offer that is meant to entice people to get back into the sales process and hopefully book an appointment, I'm typically looking to set about 3 to 5% of my list into appointments. So that's not just a response rate. That's not even just a positive response rate. That's a conversation conversion to appointment rate. So think about that. If you have a list of 1,000 leads and you know you have a way to book 30 to 50 of those people kind of at any given point, think of how that can help your sales process. That should change the way that you think about lead generation in the first place. Now, every lead that you generate is not just going to go through the sales process once. They're going to have the potential to go through many times, whether they fail the first time through, they fall off, or it's not a good time, you're not able to close them. It's kind of okay now, because you're going to continue taking good swings at them, re-instigating the conversation, and that's just sort of going to happen until they either buy something or until they tell you to stop texting them, which is totally fine too. And in fact, even if they do buy something, then there's a great chance you can send them some kind of upsell or a different promotion that targets repeat buyers or something like that. So now the value of a sale increases as well, because you know that there's some percentage chance that they will become repeat buyers. Of course, there's always a percentage chance that folks become repeat buyers, but now you're more in control over proactively encouraging that. And even for people who don't respond, this is still great engagement. You're getting straight into their SMS thread on their phone. You're going to stay top of mind with them. And so as they're going through life being not ready to buy, when they get to the point where they're thinking more about it, or if they wake up one day or decide that they are ready to buy, you're way more likely to be top of mind. And it's much more likely to see people just sort of wake up. And even if you're not in the middle of a promotion, you may get messages in just because that connection has been made. So SMS conversations, super important, not just for maximizing conversion down the sales pipeline, but also for continued reactivation. Long-term reactivation is its own whole strategy that can take industry-specific wisdom. There's all kinds of different nuance to it. You can make it as complicated or as simple as you want. I recommend taking a little time and intention to think through the process of what's the best way to steward this list of contacts that I now have, because reactivation can be very, very powerful. I highly recommend not sleeping on this technique. High Level makes it so easy, and all the features are already built in. We might as well take advantage of them. It's just a few extra clicks of a button, and now boom, we're just adding continual long-term value onto every lead. And in conclusion, I'll just say this: people who know how to get the most value out of every lead are most easily able to justify the ad spend that they're investing into their advertising. Let's say you're paying $10 a lead. If $10 is your current CPL, you could spend a lot of time and energy taking swings at trying to figure out how to lower that CPL in order to maximize your return on ad spend, maybe get it down to 8, maybe get it down to 7 if you're really good, if you have a wizard on the team, or if you hire a coach or take a course or something like that. Or you could just figure out how to make sure that your sales pipeline converts at $20 a lead. And then you could learn how to reactivate them, which brings your average value of every lead up to 25. Like, the wins on increasing the value of each lead are much easier to achieve. and they're much just greater. They're more impactful than trying to reduce the cost of advertising. So don't think small in terms of we need to be as efficient and cheap as possible on the acquisition side. Think about how you can maximize the sales process and the conversion process. That's what we see as being the big differentiator in the marketplace right now. People who are really winning and secure in their advertising efforts, who keep ads on and continue to profit off them, they're not so worried about minimizing the CPL or fully optimizing the front end of this. They're okay with paying what it costs to generate a lead because they spend all of their time making sure they're maximizing the value of that lead as the lead takes the journey down the sales process. Now, is it ideally the best case scenario to have both really cheap ads and really powerful sales conversion? Yes, of course, that's the ideal. But if I had to choose one, I would choose the more powerful sales conversion. It tends to be the slightly less obvious, but much more impactful and profitable activity for you to be focusing on in your business. Now, I don't really blame people for sleeping on this because before GoHighLevel existed, this was actually really hard to do. And even now, if you're not using GoHighLevel, this is pretty hard to do. As you're hopefully starting to see now, with GoHighLevel, things get much easier, and now we can add reliability, consistency, and confidence to our advertising efforts. And that's regardless of how much the lead actually costs. So with all that said, once you understand the power of evangelizing and reactivating your leads, you can go ahead and move on to the next module.
Copy, please.